just two gals talking about drama.
Two gals talking about drama.
That's it.
Yes.
I
Let's
love
talk
it.
about drama.
Did I tell you already that this might just be my favorite new framework of 2025?
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, I listened to your podcast episode on this and immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is what is happening on so many teams, in so many relationships, in so many friendships. And I think I might have even mentioned to you, like when I was listening to it, was going through a little bit of my own mama drama in our friend circle and was like, oh, I'm doing this. This is me. And I totally have a tendency to think that I don't cause drama, that's not me. I'm not a dramatic person. And then I'm
Yes.
listening to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a rescuer. I'm a victim. I'm going through the things. And then taking it from a workplace, perspective, I really do think it immediately articulates the cause of unhealthy, or might I even say toxic, relationships that people have with their jobs, that people have with people on their teams, maybe even their own leaders. And so much of it is we put on ourselves. We cause it in our own lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's powerful in its simplicity. And if you're willing to look at how you're creating drama, that I think that's the thing, because this framework, so originated around like, how do we play a role? How do we jump on stage and play a role when we get triggered in conflict? Right? So it's a psychological model to say what's going on inside when we get hooked by the emotions of conflict. We kind of, here's a shortcut. We lose our minds, in a sense, like we lose our presence and we revert to these roles. And so, Cartman, the person that originated this, was talking about it as like we're on stage, we're playing a role. And yet when I think about this, I think about all the ways that we do this, even without interacting with others. So, well, I guess let me just go back to that playing a role thing. So that place of we get hooked into conflict, we start playing a role. We're literally like telling ourselves a story usually about the other person or the situation, right? We're looking outside, we're pointing a finger and we're saying, oh, they're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They're the problem. They're either they're the persecutor, for example. They're the villain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Something's wrong here. I'm the victim, or I got to jump in and rescue the situation. Or we tell ourselves this instead of taking a breath and going like, hang on a minute. What's real here? Like, what are the facts? What are the indisputable facts? And this is where I come to another model that we don't have to unpack today, but it's the ladder of perception, and I always talk about staying low on the ladder, because the ladder of perception basically says that around us at all times, there's hard data, there's observable facts, indisputable facts, in a sense. Like, let's just say I walk into the house and I've been gone for the weekend and there's a pile of laundry on the couch that has been there since Friday. Okay. Let's just say. So that's just a fact. It's just like there's a pile of laundry sitting on the couch. That's all. You don't have to dispute it. It's just a fact. But then what happens is we take that fact and we add all kinds of layers of interpretation to it. What does this mean? What does this mean about my relationship? What does this mean about the person, my spouse, who's been home all weekend? What does this mean about our power differentials? And, how does this position me in society? I mean, like, you can go
on and on.
Okay.
And
So
is the idea the more you spin, the higher you go on the ladder? Is
yes.
that okay?
Yeah. Yeah, but we do this constantly. We have to use this ladder of perception to get through the day. It's not like, oh, we just can't. But what I say in the drama triangle is like, okay, let's all that storytelling when it's really negative and when those stories are all about who's the victim and who's the villain and what needs to be rescued here, who needs to be rescued, what's my role, and all that stuff that we do in our heads and we don't even notice it. All of that is the spiral above kind of observable facts. So let's get back down to those observable facts and then let's say, now what? Now, what story do I need to tell myself, or what's the action I should take, or what's happening here for me? Just a different set of questions.
Yes. And I actually prefer your take on the roles or the modes to the original one. I can't remember who you said it started with, but I believe it's like hero, victim, and villain. Is that the three?
Well, I think, yeah, when you go back in the history, it's been called a lot of different
Called
things,
different
but
things.
yeah,
Okay. Well, and what I'm getting at is I prefer the way that you frame it because I I feel like people will be less inclined to self-identify with such a negative label of a role as villain. But by golly, yeah, I'm persecuting right now. Like it's an act that I'm doing, not something that I am. And so I think people are much, and maybe when I say people, just myself, much faster to self-identify
yeah,
to be able to move into like solutions or productive or healthy thinking or frames of mind.
yes, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's where we have to give ourselves a break. Like these are, for starters, even the drama triangle, the roles, the persecutor, the rescuer, the victim, the roles we play. I mean, really, these were the adaptive strategies that we used in childhood. They were modeled for us. In a sense, they're modeled all around us. It's not like this is unique. This doesn't make you a bad person because
Mhm.
you're doing these things. It's just an opportunity. It's an opportunity to observe your own inner dialogue, see yourself with more clarity, and
Mhm.
move toward a more empowered existence.
Yes.
And I mean, I know it's so funny because sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, that word empowerment, it's so overused." But man, that's like one of my favorite words.
It's a great word.
Love empowerment. I love it as a concept. I want people to feel their sense of choice and agency in their lives. And where do we get more agency than in understanding our own thought processes, the ways we show up in the world, the ways we interact with others, the habits of mind that we have? You know, oh my gosh, if we could just get a little clearer on, oh yeah, I have a habit of immediately jumping in and rescuing another person. How is that habit serving me and where is it holding me back? Where does that habit come from? How does that habit serve me? Well, it serves me because when I rescue someone else, I feel powerful and I feel enabled. I feel like I'm helping. I want to, and I love helping. So I feel like I'm helping people. But what's the downside? Oh, the downside is that, I'm actually taking on more than I should. I'm robbing another person in a sense of their ability or their opportunity
Mm.
to learn and grow, try new things, develop.
And you mentioned children, and you want to talk about a downside is, yes, a lot of our own drama and the three modes might never actually leave our heads, but a lot of it does, or how we project it directly or indirectly. But as I was thinking about this and like the ripple effect of the potential impact of people actually practicing and applying these and just making those simple switches into that empowerment mode is our children. Like they are watching us, they are listening to us, and how we talk and complain and process and make decisions, it is going to impact their perception, their beliefs, their mindset about work, other parents, Like
Absolutely.
when their parents, how they protect their family, like that was something that I was sitting with this morning and thinking, oh my gosh, like the potential impact on just the generational impact is there too.
Yeah, can we model for our kids the the practice of being introspective, self-reflective, of even using the words and saying, "Gosh, right now I'm really telling myself a story about what's happening with your teacher at school." And but you know what? Instead of doing that, I think I'm going to go have a conversation and uh and find out what somebody else's perspective is on this, or even just saying the words like, this is what I'm thinking right now, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot of times. I could be wrong. Modeling humility, modeling the ability to um, be present with the wide range of things that could be happening.
Mm.
You know, maybe it's, maybe I'm not a victim. Maybe maybe nobody's trying to do anything to me. Maybe I could change my perspective and feel more empowered, more agency over what's happening next,
Yes.
you know?
And whether it's your children listening or your team member, you're a leader, that just the act of externally processing that and allowing them to witness it as it's happening in you is major. I think it's helpful for you. I mean, I'm an external processor. But to bring other people with you as you're making that switch and letting them learn through observations is huge.
Our kids are picking up things from so many different sources. We're
So
not
many.
the only source, but clearly we're a very powerful source, a very strong source that goes deep into the recesses of their minds. And in a sense, like, I just think helping them understand and illuminate the patterns of thinking that are invisible so
Yeah.
often. What a gift. It's almost like teaching your kids how to make a good decision instead of making decisions for them, right? You want to say, hey, I don't know, let's walk through this. What do you think your choices are? Let's weigh those choices. Let's stack those choices up against some criteria. Like, you might not want to use that word depending on how old your kids are, but like, well, what do how would we know if we had a good decision? um okay, well, what do you think is going to happen if we make that decision or this decision? Like, if you just walk them through the thinking process of it, what they're learning is how to walk through the thinking process of it. So then they're much more likely down the road to be able to sort it out and to slow down a little bit in their own decision making process and make good decisions. I remember watching my sister do this with her daughter, and thank goodness she's older than me. She's a couple years older than me, so she went first on everything. So I was able to watch everything she did. She's a great parent, and I just remember, even as her daughter was tiny, she would kind of walk through this decision making process with her daughter, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to model that, because something happens to me. The one thing I want for my kids is that they can go out in the world and they can make good decisions for themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to be there to do that for them forever.
Yeah. Just redirecting this back to the workplace. There's a stat that has like popped up in my world a few times in a couple different areas that I take a little bit of issue with. Let's see if you do too. It's that 85% of employees experience conflict at work. And then another one that said people lose anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 hours a week dealing with conflict and drama.
Yeah.
And the little issue I take with it is that in our world, which is this space of organizational health, we know that like not all conflict is bad.
Right.
So to say 85%, it's like, well, hold on a minute. Like we're tossing every moment of tension into one bucket and calling it conflict. I do think drama is in the bucket,
Right.
but not all conflict equals drama. And so I thought before we dive into the drama triangle and the different modes is just to take a moment up front and just hear from you what you consider to be healthy conflict versus unhealthy conflict, and kind of where drama fits into that.
Oh, great. I love that. Okay, so yeah, I agree. If we're just looking at a statistic that says 85%, then we're missing. I mean, I don't know where that statistic came from, but we're missing something significant there because there's a lot of conflict that is healthy and necessary.
Mhm.
And if we don't have it, if we the absence of conflict is conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like in a sense, the absence, like, oh, artificial harmony. Let's all get along and let's not deal with the real issues. And then to me, that's a form of conflict in itself. Conflict, when it's healthy, is the players, let's call them the players in the conflict, the actors, so to speak, they feel certain things. They feel psychologically safe. They feel like
Mm.
they might experience vulnerability. It's not like they're not experiencing any vulnerability, but they don't feel like their character is at stake. They don't feel like their character will be attacked. They can grapple with ideas instead of bringing it to the place of personality or character. You know, um, they can feel more or less heard or understood. And I used to think that conflict, I mean, I actually did my master's thesis on conflict, and studied conflict in the public sphere extensively, and organizational sphere, and other things, right? So I really dove in. And I think part of why I dove in was because I'm conflict avoidant, and I wanted a method. I wanted a step by step framework that I could follow every time. And I wanted everybody to follow it. And I was like, look, if we could just follow this framework, we won't have to feel any of the emotions that people feel when there's a difference between, I ask people, I say, what's the difference between problem solving and conflict? It's emotion. That's the difference. You know,
Mm.
it's, it's uncomfortable emotions. That's what takes us from being able to sit together and work with a problem and solve a problem together to, oh, this is a conflict. There's something scary about this. There's something uncomfortable about this, you know?
Mm.
And I think being comfortable with certain levels of discomfort, that's what pushes us over the edge of, like, I can be in problem solving mode, and if I can get comfortable with a certain degree of discomfort, then that's healthy conflict. Right? We can really grapple with ideas. We can speak up about our differences of opinion. We can even take breaks from the conversation and be like, okay, I'm getting overheated now. I gotta take a break and come back.
Yeah.
So I guess, sorry, I'm opening a lot of lines here, but I think originally I used to think, well, I take a turn and you take a turn, and I say what I'm thinking and you reflect it back to me. And, ultimately that is really good when people are super stuck.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to mediate. But most conflict's not going to go like that. Most conflict's going to be a little messy. And if you can come into it knowing we're still okay, conflict is still, we're still okay. Our relationship is still good.
Mm.
Even if we disagree, even if we don't see the world the same way, because at the core, I know that you have positive regard for me as a human being. I can count on that. And if I can't count on that, that's where I think it becomes really unhealthy. That's where the drama triangle comes in.
Exactly. I was just thinking, not all conflict is drama.
No,
Like, just because there are emotions, high emotions and tension and discomfort happening, it does not mean drama.
right.
But drama can come out of conflict,
Yes.
can come out of healthy conflict, even if we're not able to control the spin.
Yeah. I think of this drama triangle. My take on it is that it is such an internal spin. Like, clearly, you can just claim these roles and play them out with other people. You could say, I'm a victim. You're doing this to me. It's your fault. We can point fingers at people. And that just creates this entire spiral. Because the minute that I start pointing a finger at somebody and saying, you're the persecutor, I'm the victim, or something like that, the other person, what's going to happen? They're going to get defensive. They're going to go on the defensive. They're going to feel victimized by the way I'm showing up. And we're going to go on this downward spiral. And it's not healthy. So we got to be able to stop and go like, okay, wait, I could have said that better. Hang on a minute. Let me check myself. I'm putting myself in this role. Let me take a break. Let me take a pause and think. What's real here? What's the indisputable fact?
Yes.
And what am I making of that? And not that I'm wrong. I might be right. But let's go back to the indisputable facts and let's kind of unpack what's the stories. What are the stories we're telling ourselves about what happened or what's next or what this means? And let's just double check. Could we tell a better story? Could we tell a better story here? Could we say, instead of saying, you're doing this to me, say, I feel or I'm experiencing this moment as, something's being taken from me. Something's being put on me. And that doesn't make me feel safe. And so I need to go reorient myself here around this. What do I want out of this? So it's making that shift from what's happening to me to what is my powerful action that I could take in this moment.
To keep your power. I love that you say it's like every time you're in one of the modes, you are giving your power away.
Yep.
Whether that's to another person, to the problem, to circumstances. And that's ultimately exhausting, not helpful, draining.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get stuck there sometimes. It's true.
Yeah.
We're going to do this, but being able to recognize ourselves doing it and backpedal. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me just take a breath. Yeah. Tell a better story.
So we've mentioned the 3 modes kind of in passing and in different ways just in conversation so far, but could you share what each of those modes are?
Yeah. Okay. So the words I like to use is the rescuer, the victim, and the persecutor. And so you think about this as a triangle. And it's sort of it's a triangle with the point at the bottom. The point goes at the bottom. Okay. And so we might put at the bottom, we'd put victim, for example. And then on the left point, we could put persecutor. And on the right point, we might put rescuer. So that's a triangle. And it's also what we might call below the line.
Kind of like this, perhaps?
Oh, just like that.
There we go.
So you've got rescuer, persecutor, and victim. And so the rescuer plays the role of running in to save the day. Yeah. The victim plays the role of something's being done unto me. And the persecutor plays the role of looking for who's to blame, in a sense. Let's find who outside of me, not me, but let's find who outside of me is the persecutor. And or I also think about this as like when you're in the victim role, you're often feeling that someone else is playing the persecutor role. And that's where that sort of drama thing comes in, is like, oh, we're all on stage playing these roles together. And honestly, we jump back and forth between these very seamlessly. Oh, I can be all 3 of these things in an instant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to ask if people tend to like just stick with one, or like how quickly can you actually cycle through all 3? Could all 3 happen at one time?
Oh, yeah. I think all 3 do happen simultaneously often, but I feel like we've all known people who we would say, oh, I know a rescuer, like somebody who like sort of over indexes on, I'm a rescuer. I'm going to always jump in and save the day. I'm the victim here. And they're always looking for how they're being persecuted in the world,
Yeah.
or I'm the persecutor. I am literally scanning the world for the other evil people that I need to point out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know people, I can think of one person in each of those categories at this exact moment whose names will not be mentioned. But
Yeah.
there's people who carry these ways of being about them. Surely they play all three roles as well, but maybe they have a favorite. They have a favorite they
Yeah.
like the best.
Or just one that they habitually gravitate to. I know I do. I'm curious, have you sensed in yourself, like, do you have a natural bend towards one that you slip into easier than the other, or more quickly than the others? I know I do.
Yeah. Okay, you go first.
Oh, and it's, like, terrible to admit this, but,
You
I
go.
mean,
Horrible.
it's I slip into persecutor mode,
Yeah.
and it all stays in here.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask my husband if I, like, really externally process this. I don't think that I do. I think it all stays in my head,
Yeah.
but ever since I've learned this, I've caught myself. I'm like, "Man, Heather, I am really fast in my head to think, well, don't they know that this is happening? Don't they Can't they sense that I'm feeling these things, and why aren't they?" And it's I just have this pointing fingers track that runs in my head, and now thankfully I'm able to, like, zoop, hold on a
Yeah.
moment.
Yes.
Let's pump the brakes. Look at the
Yeah.
facts. What's actually happening? Is this real, or am I making up a story in my head that's causing some really harmful feelings and emotions towards that other person, whether that's another mom in my friend circle, my husband, like, work things. That's mine. That's
Yeah.
the one I slip to.
Yeah. I think I tend to slip to the victim mode.
Mm.
The almost like a powerlessness of oh, woe is me, this is happening to me. That kind of thing.
Like, out of my control.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, this is so visceral for me because I've studied this. This was a model that I learned early in my career, when I was in graduate school studying conflict patterns and communication and organizations. And it's so meaningful to me. But I have to admit, I kind of had forgotten it for a while. And then quite some time ago now, I was going through a really hard season in life. And I came across this again. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh my gosh. Because early on, when I learned it, I really worked with it. I worked with trying to untangle those patterns, and then it came back around. Then it came back around for me because I needed it again. And and the place that I was in at that time was that victim mindset, very strongly rooted there. And so that's why I say I think that's my go-to. I think that's my habitual
Mm.
place.
Oh, and as I'm listening to you tell that story, I'm thinking about a time in my life. So this was like 10 years ago when my dad had Lou Gehrig's disease. And I'm going back through those memories in my mind, and it's like, oh, I was persecutor. My sister was victim. So it's almost making me realize, like, we could be experiencing the exact same point of conflict, but we're processing it differently.
Right.
And our go-to habitual modes are different, and that alone causes friction. I mean, can you imagine two sisters, one feeling like the victim and one feeling like the persecutor?
Right.
And then that's not good.
No, I can
So we
imagine.
can, yeah, depending on maybe our personalities, our wiring, like, we all have a natural bend towards one or the other. But certainly I've even in myself, I've cycled through all three
Yeah, for sure.
really fast. Okay, so we've got rescuer,
Mm-hmm.
persecutor, and victim.
Yes.
If that's below the line, what's
Yeah.
above the line?
Okay, so we're going to flip the triangle. And
I'm
this is why
ready.
it's called the empowerment dynamic. The empowerment dynamic. Because when we flip the triangle, the victim becomes the creator. Okay. So if you flip it and you take that point from the bottom and you flip it to the top, what we're looking at is I'm not a victim. I'm creating a circumstance here. What is my role in creating a circumstance, or what is my role in this dynamic? So I am actually not a victim. I'm a creator. What could I be creating instead? Because the moment, even if you just say, wait a minute, if I'm not a victim, I'm creating this? What? Like, even if you do that, you're starting to realize that you have agency. You might not like it. You might not like what you've created, but now you know you've helped. You've played a hand. So, okay, if I've played a hand, maybe I can play a different hand. Maybe I can play this one differently. So how could I do that? So that's what I love about it is thinking about how, even asking yourself the question, even imagining there's a part of this that I'm creating. What is that part? That can be
And
really
then
powerful.
also what could I create in terms of a solution?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm feeling like the victim. Yes, what part of the circumstances did I create? Like, how did I make this mess that I'm in?
Yeah.
Or how am I contributing to it?
Right.
But then it's okay, it's slipping into creator mode. Okay, well, what is there a system? Is there an act? Is there something that I could do, that I could create
Right.
to help move this towards a more healthy state or towards some kind of solution?
Absolutely. And I think I talk about this in leadership all the time, is that when you're managing others, for example, and performance isn't what you want to see, it's not there. What we tend to do is we tend to point at the other person and be like, why can't you figure this out? I'm being harsh, but why
Sure.
can't,
Yeah.
why, what is your problem, in a sense? And I'm always saying, leader, put the mirror up. What's the role you're playing? Where do you need to provide more clarity? Where do you need to make expectations more clear and crisp? Where do you need to coach? Where do you need to help the person build a checklist or a process map or something like that that could help them be successful? Don't jump down into this, place of persecutor. They're the problem. And I'm not saying that sometimes you've done all that and you whatever, that's another conversation, right? Sometimes you've done all the coaching and you've really created
Sure.
clarity and
Yeah.
all that stuff. That's a different situation. But when our gut reaction is to look for who's to blame, and it's not you, by the way,
Yeah.
then I would say, like, okay, wait, let's not go there. Let's think about what you can do differently, because you've tried to make them do something differently. That's not
Mm-hmm.
working. So let's go to what you can do differently that's going to influence the situation. So that's when you might go from victim to creator, for example. Now, persecutor, if you flip that one, then you become the challenger. So,
Challenger.
yeah. So instead of being a persecutor where I'm saying, okay, you're the blame, you're the problem, I want to go in and I want to challenge the person. And that's a positive role. Like, let me challenge you to be better, to do better, to try again, to approach this differently. So that word for me is a positive word, flipping from persecutor, I'm looking for who's to blame, to challenger, I'm looking to challenge you or us to do something differently and better.
To stretch, to
To
just push out
stretch.
of your comfort zone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that word challenger. It can be taken negatively, but man, it really is positive. I did some work with several teams last year and kind of coming up with their own, it was hotel teams, but their own clarity statement around what they want to make people feel, whether they work at the hotel or they're staying at the hotel as a guest. And that word challenged came up a lot from team members when we would ask them, like, at the end of the day, when I go home, I want to go home proud and tell people that when I'm at work, I feel what? And they come up with all these words, and that word challenged came up quite a bit. And it would always spark this wonderful debate because people will be like, oh, I don't want to be challenged. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, it's great. I want to be pushed. I want someone to give me an alternative way to think about something and to push me. And so it's a really good, it's a good word.
I like it. I think we don't challenge ourselves enough. Sorry, that's my personal take on something, but in a sense it's like this I feel like as human beings, we don't want to be challenged on every front all the time.
Sure.
But we when we stretch, when we grow, I feel like we're born to grow. So
we're born to grow. Okay. So then what would rescuer? If persecutor, the empowerment side is we want to challenge people.
Yeah.
In that constructive, empowering way.
Yes.
If victim is the flip side of that is creating, what would rescuer? Instead of being a rescuer, what should we be?
And don't jump in and rescue, coach. Become a coach. Yeah.
Become a coach.
So, yeah, if you think about how often, like I just think about the people in my life that I would say, we talked about this, like maybe have a pattern of rescuing. How much more empowering it is to jump in and coach the person instead of rescue them from, let me coach you. If you don't know how to do this, I'm not going to do it for you, but I'll talk you through it, or I'll give you a framework, or I'll be here when you get stuck and you can ask me questions, but I'm not going to do it for you. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why coaching is such a dramatically powerful toolkit, and that everyone that needs to manage people should learn some. They don't have to become certified coaches, but really double down on this as a skill set. Coaching is so valuable.
It's so valuable. So let's I was thinking about some common drama triggers.
Yeah.
At work, because that's the lane we're in today.
Yeah.
There could be a lot outside of
Sure,
work.
of course.
The pile of laundry on the couch.
For example.
So I thought it'd be fun to toss one or two and then talk quickly like, okay, well, this is what the drama triangle would be, and then this is what the empowerment would look like.
Okay.
So how about being told no? Like, let's say you pitch an idea, or something needs to happen, or a new process, and then you pitch it, and then everyone's like, no, or your leader's like, no.
Yeah. So you could go to victim real quick. I'm a victim of this power dynamic. It's because of who I am. It's because of where I sit in this organization. You could jump quickly into persecutor mode of like, oh, they asked me for ideas, and, they have ulterior motives. This is all manipulative, yeah, there you go. There's some drama for you right there.
There's drama. Okay. So if someone tells us no, then what's the empowerment? What would that look like?
I would first and foremost, I would encourage somebody to use a challenge question. Like, okay, I understand. Could you walk me through the why? Could you walk me through the why? And then maybe jump into creator mode. How could I formulate or bring you better ideas in the future? What do you think?
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I mean, and it's just that simple shift. And it's so hard to do in the moment, right? If you had no awareness of this empowerment triangle, it would be, I don't think it's many people's natural instinct to go to those productive, challenging questions and creating questions.
Yes.
But if you know in advance, like, okay, there's potential for what's on the other side of this, what I've got coming up in the next hour or day, there's potential for tension and discomfort, or to be told no, or to be challenged, or to be, left out. If the potential is there, to be proactive and say, okay, if it comes up, how can I how can I challenge? How can I create?
Right.
Like those are two simple questions, like back pocket things that you had ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about it as I have this course I teach sometimes called Be a Proactive Problem Solver. And it's like that. It's like the minute you get into that hooked place, don't
Yes.
go into the drama, go into, challenge the notion in a positive, like the whole thing is I feel like the challenger is the person that comes to the table with a sense of confidence. I belong here. You know, I, I was invited here. I belong here. I
Mm-hmm.
could use my voice. I could ask a productive question. And again, a lot of people aren't invited to do that. And when they do it, they don't get great reception from others. So there's a lot of dynamics that keep us in those negative patterns. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
love the empowerment viewpoint, because I always say, look, you're a human being. You can't control all the stuff that's going on around you. You can't control how other people feel about you, that you can't control whether they're authentic when they invite you to the table. You can't control any of that. But you can control how you show up. You can really think that through and try to do your best to use it to your personal advantage for growth and contribution. So what's
Mm.
that going to look like?
What about if, let's say, like a short, there's conflicting communication styles. Like you send an email, maybe it's to a group, to a team, and then somebody responds back and they're like short, rude, and you have that moment of like, oh my god, like what about that example? How does somebody get out of the drama triangle in that? I've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah.
Not only like personally, but like talking with leaders and team
Right.
members.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, well they do this and they send this and then it's all in their email." It's like, "Wow, there's a lot of drama that comes out of email
Oh
apparently."
yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's so short answer I tell people when they ask me those kinds of questions is, oh, that's a good time to get up, walk over there, say hi. Hey, what's happening? Okay. Or pick up the phone. These are human beings. So I think my response to that is wait, tell yourself a better story. Don't jump into the story of what must be happening for them or what they must be trying to do to you or whatever. Don't jump into those stories. Go like, oops, like maybe I'm misunderstanding. Or here's one, just like me, maybe they're having a bad day sometimes, just like me, maybe they're busy and they're paying less attention to the niceties in their email today. And it has nothing to do with me. So for better or for worse, I often think these thoughts myself, like, okay, wait, this probably has nothing to do with me. If this had nothing to do with me, I would be much less triggered. So, how
Yeah.
about if I just assume it has nothing to do with me and I assume the best, I assume positive intent on the other person's part. And then I can go and have a much more open conversation. I did a whole
Mm.
podcast episode on this, like choosing to believe the good reasons that other people have for things. You know, I choose to believe that you're not trying to be
Yeah.
a jerk to me, whatever. Like I choose to believe that you are doing the best you can with what you have at the moment. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm going to choose to believe that because it's going to set me up to have a better interaction with you. It's going to help me feel more calm, less defended, more
Mm-hmm.
open. And I believe that those things, more calm, less defended, more open, I believe that those things are going to have better outcomes. So that's where I'm going. It's a
Yeah.
choice.
It is a choice, and what you said earlier too is so important in that we have very little control over what other people are doing. Like, is there potential for influence? Sure, we all have a potential for influence, but we can't control to the greatest extent people's reactions. their responses, their actions. I mean, even with people we've worked with for a long time, how someone reacts to conflict or a comment, like that wiring is deep. And it goes all the way back sometimes to family origins, childhood experiences, wounds, things like that. And we might not ever get to the bottom of why somebody gets triggered the way that they do.
Right.
But what we can always remember is that we always have a choice.
Right.
Okay, so I asked a mutual friend of ours. I said, "Hey," which is Jonathan Mason. You know that. We need more mutual friends. I was trying to be sneaky about it and tell you, like, I have a question.
Well, we
like,
have an entire working genius network, so.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I know. I could have been a little bit more creative with our mutual sneaky friend.
Okay.
Okay, but I told Jonathan that you're coming on the podcast, and if he had a question for you, what would he like to ask you? And he said he wants to know, what do you understand now about drama that you used to get wrong?
Oh God, that's a tough one. Let's see. What do I understand now that I used to get wrong? What I used to get wrong was that things felt so real. I am a victim. They are the bad guy. I have to rescue this. It felt very real, indisputable. There's a whole question mark in my mind about when, what lives in the world of fact versus interpretation at times. And I think a lot of people claim that things are facts that I would call interpretations, and that's why I like to get down to that indisputable kind of data, that observable data thing. That is a pile of laundry. It is on the couch. Those are the only things that I can say with certainty. You know what I mean? And that I feel comfortable there. I feel comfortable in this place of knowing that there's a whole lot that's up to interpretation. There's a whole lot that I don't know, and I will never know. But some people don't feel comfortable there. They want a lot more certainty about what is real. And they want to stand firm in this idea of like, no, they are the bad guy. Like, I feel so much more comfortable in a reality where I can point out that person's the wrong person. I am a victim. I have to rescue somebody. And yeah, just like everyone else, I think there was a time, and there still are times, when what I get wrong is that I think those are, I over-index on that being real.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to wrap up with a fun lightning round of questions, because we've talked about drama and we know a little bit about, and actually this is kind of for me too, because I'm like, every time you and I get a chance to connect, it's always around work or Working Genius or all the things. So I have some fun, quick questions to help us understand the non-drama masters in conflict consultant side of Claire. Okay. Describe the perfect weekend at the ranch.
Oh, you know about the ranch. The perfect weekend at the ranch. The ranch is our place. My husband and I call it our happy place. It's a big open space that we own a couple hours from home, where the weather is dramatic and there are no people. We have partners in our ranch that also go, so it's our happy place for all of us. But a perfect weekend at the ranch is springtime, when it's warm and quiet and green and the river is running. And it's often a lot warmer there than it is at my house. So we might take beach chairs and sit in the river. And sometimes we do a little pop-up and we play cards all day. We hike, we watch the sunset. It's very freeing. And for whatever reason, even though I have internet down there now, when I get down there, I don't think at all about work. And I need that sometimes. I need weekends when I don't think at all about work.
Nice. So other than the ranch, when you need to recharge, what's a go-to way to rejuvenate?
Well, I live just a handful of houses from a beautiful redwood forest. And I go, it's Nicene Marks Park. I go into that park almost every single day with my dog. Yeah. I hike
Wow.
four or
I
5
hope you
miles.
don't take that for granted. I have never seen a redwood tree in real life.
Okay,
Yes,
you're
never.
coming to my house and we're gonna go for a great hike. Yeah, it's
Let's do
amazing.
it.
We have old growth. We have these beautiful groves and I it just fills my soul and I go there almost every single day.
What, without a doubt, will always make you laugh?
That's good. That's a good one. I don't know, silly slapstick stuff, and I feel bad about it sometimes, but like, stuff like that. Watching somebody, oh, here's a thought. This will always make me laugh. And it wasn't a laughable moment, really, but a friend of mine was carrying a pizza one time and slipped and fell backwards, which is not the funny part, but the pizza came out just fine. Every time I think about that, I laugh. I don't know why.
I love it. Okay, well, what, without a doubt, will always make you cry?
Um, I'm a melancholy person. So happy, sad thoughts will always bring tears to my eyes. Like that. What does Brene Brown call it? Oh, I can't remember, foreboding joy or something like this. Like when I think about how good life is,
Hmm.
I get tearful. Like I think about the beauty and the blessings in my life, and I, that will almost always when I think about my kids and how much I love them, I just, those kinds of things bring tears to my eyes.
A favorite kitchen appliance?
Oh, I have a little, yeah, that's a funny one. What is my favorite kitchen appliance? I have to say it's my coffee maker. I love my coffee maker. Love it. Love that thing. Grinds the beans. It does the whole bit. Makes great coffee. Love that thing.
I love it. Okay, what's one slightly weird or unexpected thing that you like to save?
I'm not a saver. I like
You're
rocks.
not a
I guess I'll
saver?
say I like to save rocks, but I have a limit. I have limits with things. I don't like clutter and I don't like collecting stuff. So, except
Okay.
books. Yeah, you probably can't see my shelf behind me, but yeah, it's hard for me to let
Books
go.
and rocks.
It's hard for me to let go of books. I will say that much. Yeah, and frameworks.
Books and books, rocks, and frameworks. All right, one more. What is a small, ordinary moment that feels sacred to you?
Sunrise.
A sunrise.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, this has been such a
Thank you for
treat.
me too. Thank you so much for
Such a
inviting me.
treat.
It's been great.
I can't wait to get this out in the world and to hear the comments and stories because and if it impacts people in even just like 60% of the way it's impacted me, it's has the potential to save relationships and jobs and friendships, and so I'm very
Oh,
grateful
I'm
for
so
you.
happy that that was meaningful for you. Thank you for sharing that.